Retro Lunch Break with Nick and Rick.
Yes. Hello and welcome to another episode of Retro Lunch Break, the podcast. I'm your host, and joining me as always is my co-host Nick Lachey, married to Jessica Simpson and of 98 Degree fame. And joining us today on this very, very special episode is Eddie Money with 2 Tickets to Paradise. Yes?
Sure, yeah.
I've got 2 tickets to paradise. I knew that was going to happen. And I am never going to give you up, never going to let you down, never going to turn around and desert you. I'm never going to make you cry. I'm almost done. I'm never going to say goodbye, never going to tell a lie and hurt you. Yes, I am the one and only Rick Astley. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I think he just trolled us.
He just rickrolled everyone who listens.
He just rickrolled us right now.
Yes. Thank you. All right. So, in this episode, it's a great song. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Legend of Zelda series, okay? So, let's start off with an opening question of which titles have you not played?
Okay.
Let's start off with Nick. Go ahead.
So, let me just go through the titles I have not played real quick. Faces of Evil, Wand of Gamelon, Zelda's Adventure, because I don't have that kind of money, and as a kid, I did not invest in a CDI, thankfully.
Were you aware of those when they were actually released?
No, I don't remember those at all even being talked about. It was a little taboo. It came in later, probably around Nintendo 64 days when I kind of found out about those.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know about those until way later, thanks to AVGN. Yeah.
Okay. I have not played Spirit Tracks. And yeah, that's it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What about Link Between Worlds?
Yes, I played Link Between Worlds. I have not finished Link Between Worlds, but I have played Link Between Worlds.
Oh, okay. All right. Eddie, how about you?
For me, it's going to be the opposite.
Okay.
You guys play a lot of Zelda games. I've actually only played 3, which is Ocarina of Time,
great one,
Majora's Mask,
yes,
and The Breath of the Wild.
Nice. So you have a huge gap there.
Yeah. Huge gap. Yeah. I'll say this. When they started going into that different look with the Wind Waker, at the time, I just couldn't get into it.
Oh, I was so hyped for that. I
couldn't
can't
get
even
into
tell
it,
you
so
how
that's
excited
why
I was.
I actually kind of stopped trying to buy Zelda games and get into them.
That's interesting. Okay.
I guess maybe I was just young and naive.
Yeah.
What did I know? I didn't know any better, you know?
Yep.
Wow,
All right,
interesting.
cool.
All right.
What about you, Rick?
For me, now, I've played pretty much everything that is out there. The only ones I haven't played is the Skyward Sword.
Oh, okay.
Skyward Sword. That's the only one.
You played Faces of Gamelon?
Sorry. Okay, sorry. Yes, the CDI titles.
Got you there.
The CDI titles I have not played. As I mentioned earlier, I did not know these even existed. I don't know if I want to play them if I had the option.
I want to. I really do. I really want to have enough money in life to where I could be like, I'm gonna go out and buy a CDI and spend hundreds of dollars on a terrible game. But but no, it's just never gonna happen.
Yeah, no, that's about. Oh, sorry, and I also haven't played a couple of the Game Boy titles like Minish Cap, Four Swords Adventure. That one's on GameCube.
Well, there was one for the
DS, right?
No, for the Game Boy Advance. It was a tag on to when they re-released Link to the Past. Yeah, and then they added that on as a multiplayer game, and then that spawned the Four Swords game.
Yes. I haven't played those.
Okay,
so pretty much the whole gambit. I have played them.
Okay, awesome.
So that's pretty good span of games that we have played and haven't played. So it's really interesting. So let's go on to our first topic of which one is your favorite.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and start with you, Nick.
All right. So the Legend of Zelda series is my favorite game series all time, hands down. Since I was a little kid, running around the neighborhood with a cardboard cutout to look like a shield and 2 pieces of wood nailed together to pretend it was my wooden sword. Yeah. I even had my mom sew me a little felt bag that I would wear on a belt and pretend I had a boomerang and bombs and rupees and everything in there. I was obsessed from a young age with this game. But for me, my personal favorite game in the series is the Minish Cap. The Minish Cap, I just loved the story behind it. It's Eslo, your companion, familiar, who's also the green hat, which explains how he gets the hero's hat.
Oh, okay.
For that series is cool. It's the prequel to Four Sword Adventures. It's the beginning story of Vadi, who's the evil wizard throughout that run of things. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, and I just really enjoy about that game is how they took it's a very small map because the Game Boy Advance was still limited in size, but what they did was they gave you if you haven't played the Minish Cap, the ability to shrink down to the Minish size, or as they call them, the Picori, and then you find out soon in that Picori is what the humans call them. Their actual name is Minish, and so the Minish people. And so they've taken these small map areas and turned them into huge dungeons and huge areas, and every house you can go into, not every house, but a lot of the houses have a Minish-sized version of it where you meet people like who work on shoes like cobblers and stuff like that. And it's really cool and interesting, and it's a nice little story in there. And I really love there's this one mechanic where you get you find half pieces of these medallions, and then you have to talk to people. And then when you talk to them, you can have the option to see what their half of the medallion is, and you can match up by the medallions you collect to complete a whole medallion to have like a connection with that person.
Wow, cool.
And I really do love that game. It was Capcom's best, in my opinion, Game Boy title for The Legend of Zelda. But yeah, I will say Breath of the Wild is the best Zelda game for gameplay and mechanics and everything, but just for me, there's something special about the Minish Cap that I really enjoy.
Now, if I remember correctly, you told me that you got this game on launch today?
Yes, I got this game on launch from a Target out in Pomona. I was out in Pomona, and it was there, and I went and I got it, and I just could not put it down.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's just one of those ones. I mean, some of these, starting, we'll say, from Ocarina of Time on, minus the Oracle games, because I did get those a little later than release. Everything else was pretty close to, or if not on release day. I think Twilight Princess for me was about a week late because I didn't get the Wii till about a week later. I was walking through a mall. Friend was in a line in a GameStop. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, they're gonna have Wii's in 10 minutes. So I ran, stood in line. I was like third in line. I got one. They only got like 6 in stock, so I luckily got one really early. So yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah. Eddie, would you like to go next about which is your favorite Zelda title?
Sure. My favorite title is actually Ocarina of Time. I love that game. It's the only game that like I have like a very emotional attachment to because you played it as a kid and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was my first Zelda game.
Yeah.
I was introduced
That's awesome.
as my first Zelda game, Ocarina of Time. So I was blown away by it. And back in those days, I think this style of game was it the first one where you're kind of like
it was the
walking
first
around.
It was the first 3D.
Exactly,
Zelda.
I think that's what it was, right?
Yeah,
I think it is
because everything else was a top-down up until that point. Well, not everything. We'll get into that in a minute. But 3 of the 4 games before that were released were top-down adventure-style games, and this was the first 3D one.
That's what I figured, and
Yeah.
I got lucky to experience that for the first time.
Yeah.
I thought the story was amazing. The fact that you're traveling through time, being a little kid, then you get to be an adult. That was great. Majora's Mask is the other one that I played. It was also good, but I felt like the gameplay changed a little bit because now you're able to wear these different masks and change your appearance. That was a little awkward for me, but I still played the entire game and still beat it. And I'll agree with Nick that by far, in today's standards, Breath of the Wild, I guess, is the best one so far because they changed so much of the game.
But it felt so right. It was, they changed so much to where it's like, I might be a little afraid, but then you pick it up and start playing it, and it is just this masterpiece of a game. I don't know. I was never expecting when I started playing Breath of the Wild to be like, man, that game. It should really be my all-time favorite, but just something about Majora's Mask.
And it's the first game that is also non-linear, right? It's open.
Yes.
It's open world. You kind of can just go
yeah.
wherever you want.
Well, technically, kind of the first Zelda, in theory, is similar to that, to where to get to the last level, you have to get all the pieces of the Triforce. That's fine, but everything else up into that is pretty much you forge your own path. It doesn't have we'll say Link's Awakening where there's dots.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love that. So going on to my favorite Zelda title, if you would ask me this question 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, a long while back, I would easily just answered Majora's Mask. I love Majora's Mask with a passion because it was so dark, it was so brooding, it was so different from everything else and I don't know, I just really connected with that. I just thought it was great. I still love that game to this day. I love that they did the re-release on the 3DS, and I fully support it. I totally recommend it. But then if you ask me this question now, as you just did, I'd actually say that my top favorite game is Spirit Tracks.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Spirit Tracks, yes. I love Spirit Tracks with a passion. I love the music. I love the whole theme of it. I love being on the train. I think being on the train is by far the best experience about overworld traveling in the Zelda game so far. And that's even with Breath of the Wild.
Oh, yeah. Did I mention I hadn't played Spirit Tracks?
Yes, you
Yeah,
did.
Okay, good. You just wanted to make sure I covered that. It was one of the few I haven't played, so I just wanted to make sure. I'll get into the reason why.
I held in my shock when you said that. Yeah, no.
Even though you lent me the game, and I held it for like 2 weeks, and I never got around to playing it. Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Wow.
I should probably borrow that again and give it a try now that I'm a learned adult.
Now, let me tell you why there's a difference in my answers nowadays. Because now it's a great tie between those two titles. The change is that now I have kids, and I tell them all the time that I'm always looking forward to them to playing these games and inheriting them, eventually. And now it's like I don't want to have them look forward to playing Majora's Mask. It's such a dark game. I want them to play something that's great and happy and fun, and that's Spirit Tracks. And they've already actually expressed a lot of interest in it because of the overworld music. They happen to hear it from the special CD track that came with Skyward Sword. With the orchestral remixes of the music. Yeah. They heard that part and they were like, oh, we really like that part. What is that? And I was like, oh, it's from this song. Let me play it for you. And they love it. They asked me to play it all the time. They love hearing it. And I really look forward to them playing that game.
But maybe they're like you. You're denying them that dark.
Oh, I don't know.
that dark game that you so much love.
It's different being a gamer dad.
Yeah, I will say I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so going on then to our next topic. Yes. Is which is your least favorite? And now I think we got to kind of hint on what Eddie's is. So let's go ahead and ask you, Eddie, what is your least favorite Zelda title?
It's gonna be Majora's Mask.
Oh, I thought it was Wind Waker.
Oh no, I didn't actually play it. Oh. I just said I didn't play it because the way it looked.
Yeah.
But if we're going based on playing them, then it's gonna have to be Majora's Mask.
Wow.
Well, look at what it's up against. His 3 games he's played are Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Breath of the Wild. I mean,
so that's gonna be my least favorite so far.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that, Ricardo.
No apologies.
I don't want to disappoint you, sir.
No disappointment. That's interesting. Now, do you think maybe you can tell us why you didn't like it?
I didn't mind the darkness. I thought that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason I didn't like it was it did feel kind of repetitive because you always had to restart in the beginning, and I at the time I found it very difficult. Like I was having a lot of trouble solving some of the puzzles in that game.
And they made a change to that in the 3DS version where it gave you some tools to help you manage those things, actually.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of layers to it, especially if you want to complete all the side tasks.
To get all the masks.
To get everything, I would admit,
so
it's
I think that's why it became my least favorite, because I also had to tell my dad, like, hey, Dad, you're going to have to buy me the game guide, because I can't figure this out.
Yeah. I do remember the first time I played that game, coming off of Ocarina and just having so much freedom. And just being like, of course it's linear, where you're supposed to go, but there was nothing. And then playing that where the puzzles now aren't just your typical Zelda dungeon puzzles. You also have puzzles that deal with time and when you have to go back and what you have to do before a certain point, or where you need to be on a certain point on a certain day. Yeah. So it took a little while to wrap my head around that concept, but once I did, the game it's really good. It is dark. It's a little weird. That's the first game I'll say that really felt like at that point we needed to start discussing where each Zelda came compared to the last one, because that one felt like it was a direct sequel to Ocarina, but so much more dark, and you knew people from your childhood who no longer recognized you, and just that whole thing, it was a little weird. I know I don't know if they were supposed to be the same people. Thinking about it back then, I didn't know if they were supposed to be the same people, or it's just because they used the same game engine. Not sure, so. Yeah, but that game is... I can see where you come from, why, as a kid, but... Yeah.
Well, fun fact, I do believe that's where Tingle is introduced, too.
Yes, Tingle is. Tingle the map fairy. Yeah.
Okay, then Nick, would you be so kind as to tell us which one is your least favorite?
Yeah, it's not that hard for me. It's hard to admit that I do have a least favorite, but you have to have a least favorite in everything. And for me, it was Phantom Hourglass.
Really?
100%, yeah. Came off Wind Waker. It was a sequel to Wind Waker.
Yeah,
and I loved Wind Waker. Talk about such a great game that they all rank up there. It's amazing. Okay, so real quick, back to what you were saying about Then and Now before I go in further, deeper down this hole.
Okay.
If you would have asked me 10 years ago what my least favorite was, I would have said Link's, The Adventures of Link, Zelda 2. Zelda 2, as a kid, I hated that game. I could not get into that game. It was so different. I guess as a kid of being, 7, 8, 9 years old, and that being such a big thing in my life, that first Zelda being such a big moment for video games in my life, to where that was setting me in this course of this is everything I'm gonna love going forward. To have that much of a change was so hard for me to understand as a kid, and then to not get into it, and then just have the short sword and all the RPG mechanics that I wasn't fully aware of and used to yet as a kid. I didn't, but going back and playing it now as an adult again, it's a phenomenal game. It really is. Yeah, there's some mechanical problems with it, but it is a great game. So that leads me to Phantom Hourglass being my least favorite. And the reason Phantom Hourglass is my least favorite, not because it's Link to Wind Waker, phenomenal game, dark game, even though it looks cute. It's a really dark, strong Zelda title that kind of shocks you, especially for me, the end of Wind Waker. The very end of it, I was never expecting. I think I was playing on a 13-inch CRT color TV with my GameCube hooked up, and I remember that scene when you finish that game. I'm not going to ruin it if you haven't played it, and just sitting there with my jaw just wide open, what am I seeing? What just happened? But then I get really excited. I get the Phantom Hourglass when it comes out. I even send away for the stylus, the clear feather stylus.
Whoa, cool.
For it. So halfway through the game, I get in the mail from Nintendo. I start playing with that. The problem for me was the central temple you had to keep going back to. Every time you did something, you had to go back to get a little further and crawl a little further. But there was that small portion of repetitiveness in it, to where it became too repetitive that I lost interest in wanting to do that. I wanted to play the rest of the game. I didn't want to go back to that central hub island and do more of that dungeon. I wanted to skip that part. And so at the end of it, I was just it just didn't feel, it felt so unsatisfying to finish for me. And then that's why I never picked up Spirit Tracks. The reason I never picked up Spirit Tracks is because I didn't like Phantom Hourglass, and I didn't want another DS game that I felt was going to be repetitive. And so I passed on it. I walked into the store, and I was like, no, I'm just going to pass right on it.
You know what? You made the right choice, because in Spirit Tracks, you actually have the same kind of mechanics where you have the central main dungeon that you constantly go back to, because as you're able to unlock different pieces of it, you go back and you go another level, and it has the exact same mechanics. I don't think you would have liked it.
Okay, yeah.
I think you dodged a bullet.
Okay,
there.
That's good.
Although I still recommend it, because I think
I do want to give it a try,
great.
because as being much older, like I said, going back and replaying Zelda 2 as an adult instead of a kid just trying to get through it and getting through it, going back, I actually enjoy the game, and it makes sense to me now. That's it. I do want to really give a quick mention here to favorite voice acting for a game is definitely the CDI series, because there's nothing better than I wonder what Ganon's up to.
I saw those videos on YouTube. I think they were originally called the YouTube poops.
Oh yeah, where they cut them up
I saw those before
I'm
I
so
knew
hungry
what
I could
it was.
eat a dongo. Those.
My boy.
My boy.
Tra-la-la, we're off. Oh yeah.
Now you must die.
Oh man!
Wow, I've never seen that actually.
You should really watch
it.
it. So it looks like really bad MS Paint drawings with really bad lines. They're great. My favorite is I think it's Wand of Gamelon, and the wizard comes in. He's like, "We have to go stop Ganon." He's like, "I'm just gonna go grab my stuff." And he's standing outside of his room, and then the wizard's like, "There's no time," and they just leave with his sword and his shield and his bombs, everything to make that game quick and easy.
I don't remember that one.
Okay, I'll play it for you later.
We'll have to check that out. Yeah. Okay, then going on to my least favorite title, and now this is going to be kind of funny, because my least favorite actually is Wind Waker.
Ooh,
yeah, it's actually Wind
That
Waker.
hurts.
That
hurts. Yeah.
And it's kind of why the reason why I liked Spirit Tracks so much more is because in Wind Waker I didn't like the whole boat mechanic.
You didn't like exploration? You didn't like exploring the world and figuring out...
way too long.
Then you should play it on the Wii.
It took way... Okay, what's the difference?
On the Wii, they, much like they did with Majora's Mask to manage time with things, they added a golden sail to which it had no speed and you never had to change the wind. You just pushed and it went whichever way.
Ah, wow, okay. That
To me, that it was terrible. I played it. I didn't like it. I liked changing the wind. I liked exploring every inch of that map.
I did like that. I like the whole maestro with the baton and everything. I thought that was really cool. I love the tempo and everything about that.
And
I love the music.
Beetle.
I love Beetle. Beetle's. Oh yeah, that's right. Beetle. That's where Beetle was introduced.
Yeah.
I like those, but like what got me was the constant sailing around. It just seemed like it took forever to get to any kind of point where it wasn't traveling that I enjoyed. Whereas in Spirit Tracks, you're on the train. Zelda's right there is with you. Zelda's spirit is right there with you. The music's great, and just trugging along the train. I enjoyed that a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's why. And I played Wind Waker. I played it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
I played Phantom Hourglass all the way to the end.
Yeah.
And I've played again Spirit Tracks, and I love that one way more. In terms of traveling in overworlds, I think it's by far the best in all the games. So that's unfortunately my least favorite. Is Wind Waker. Yeah. Okay, so moving on now to something that we've already been talking about quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Now this game came out and it blew everybody's minds, mine including. Now, let's talk about how you guys approach that game, because it's very non-linear. You literally can get off the Great Plateau and do whatever you want. What was the first thing you guys started to do? Now, let's go with Nick. So you're itching to answer.
Yeah, I am itching to answer, yeah.
Okay, so Nick, give us what was the first thing that you started to do?
Okay, so the first thing I did when I got off of the Great Plateau and I landed there was I was so excited to go back to Zora's Domain. And I made a beeline straight for Zora's Domain because I just, in Ocarina of Time, I love Zora's Domain there, and it was great. Just a fun world, and just like the character development in there was so much better for me than the Gorons. The Gorons are kind of just, we're Gorons, we eat rocks. But the Zora were like such an elegant people of the land, and they were so different. So I went straight there, and I spent all the time in there talking to everyone, and then I went up and I did the first, the first...
Temple?
oh my gosh.
Challenge?
The beasts, what are they called? The
Linux?
No, not the Lynels.
The great beasts.
The great...
The four...
Why am I forgetting this? Why is my brain...
Lynels?
No, the four...
Oh, the great beasts.
Are they the great beasts?
Yeah, the elephant.
Yeah, the elephant one, the great beast one. Mifa's one.
Yeah.
And, oh my god, that is by far of the four... Divine Beasts. There's the word. Divine Beasts. Thank you. I knew my brain would get. Of the four Divine Beasts, that is by far the best level of the whole game. I thought that was the best dungeon type thing in that game. So I went there first, and then from there I further went out and I started doing a bunch of side quests and fighting Lynels and just
side quests such as what?
Such as trying to find the giant horse and helping people in the villages and I need this kind of bugs. Go here, do this, collect this.
Okay, so the fetch quests.
The fetch quests, and then which led me into I went up to the ancient workshop, and then from there I found Terrytown, and I spent the rest of my time from that point on reviving Terrytown and going through all that and unlocking the rest of the game to get Terrytown to finish. I know someone in this group isn't the biggest fan of Terrytown, I believe, but Terrytown is great, and you need to get Terrytown ready. Just saying. And you need your house. Just saying, that's all. Yeah. And then, I don't know, I should check my save file, but I spent hundreds of hours in that game. It's just so... I probably put as much time in that game as I have into the original Legend of Zelda, which is the one I've played the most up until Breath of the Wild. Everything else I've played multiple times through. They're good, but the first Zelda... I will go back every other year and try on whichever way, either be it regular cartridge, virtual console, however I can try to get through that game every couple years, just because it's my Lord of the Rings, I guess I'll say, because there's people who read the Lord of the Rings book every couple of years just because that's what they enjoy doing. That is my Lord of the Rings in, I guess, any kind of pop culture or media art form.
I don't think I have anything like that. That's interesting. Okay, going on to Eddie. So in your playthrough of Breath of the Wild, you got off the Great Plateau. What was the first thing you sought to do?
Explore the map.
Explore the map.
I just wanted to find the tallest mountains and glide off of them.
Oh, okay.
That's all I really wanted to do at first. After I first flew off from the Great Plateau, it was just so much fun, just being able to glide down. And what ended up happening was I'm running out of stamina, because I just started the game. So my next mission was I need to build my stamina wheel. So I started looking for those blue dungeons or the shrines, to try to unlock more and look for those little. What are the Korak?
The Korak.
The Korak, the Korak.
Yeah,
Korak. I'm thinking about Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I know.
You found
the Korak.
Yeah.
So that I can get the seeds and be able to expand my slots and everything because the world out there is very dangerous.
Did you actually
challenging.
Did you expand all the weapons and the shields and the bows and arrows?
I have been.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You have been.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have been. I don't know if there's a limit, like
900 Korak seeds are in that game.
Okay, and I haven't found them all.
900 Korak seeds, 120 shrines.
No, but I mean, like, did you actually expand all of those? Because to give reference, I only expanded my weapons. I didn't care about my shields. I didn't care about my bows.
Yeah, I've been doing each.
Wow, each one. Okay.
So I did swords, weapons, and I worked on bows, shields. Because honestly, once you get the Hylian shield, it's like, why do I want? Actually, the Guardian shield is great because you don't have to deflect it; it shoots back straight automatically. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it absorbs and shoots back.
Oh wow!
But beside Guardian shields and the Hylian shield, why would you expand the shield slot? Unless you're trying to collect one of every shield. Yeah, which is interesting because Eddie, I certainly didn't play that way. I'll just mention that right now. Yeah. But what else?
So after that, I kind of had to progress through the story at that point too. So I ended up going to the lab and unlocking the
Sheikah tablet.
The Sheikah tablet,
or the Sheikah slate.
Yeah, and then once I found out that there's like these memories and pictures, and then I wanted to find those spots.
Yeah.
Where all these memories coming from, and I started doing that, and slowly just as I saw more of the shrines, going to the shrines.
Have you finished the game?
No.
Okay.
I have not finished the game.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
You didn't know that, did you?
Have you finished the game?
Yes.
Did you finish the game with all the memories?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
So the first time I finished the game, I didn't finish it with the memories because I wanted to see what happens before I finished. I didn't want to finish it with all the memories and then go back and see the alternate. I wanted to see the less exciting ending and then the finishing it with the memories ending. So
I have to say that
it's just there's just an extra scene at the end that's cut off. If you
it's not just
I know it's not just an extra scene.
You're setting me off right now.
It's not in a bad way. I'm just saying it's extra story. It's extra story about the. I don't want to say too much because Eddie hasn't finished it. So it's extra story onto the end. You see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to get into it.
Ooh.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the story ends one way if you don't have all the memories. It ends abruptly, slightly.
Interesting.
Okay, let me just say this then regarding that is that I had to get the memories because it involves Zelda, and anything involving Zelda is the main highlight of the game for me. So that's why I sought out the memories eventually. But now let me go into my answer because my path that I took as soon as I got off the Great Plateau is very different from the view.
You crouched and hid in a corner for 2 hours and contemplated movement.
I just made food all day. I just baked apples.
Oh, that's great.
No, immediately when I got off and the Great Plateau and I saw the how big the map actually was and how you have to get the Great Towers in order to get the maps. That's the first thing I did. I went to every single Great Tower and I completed the map before I did anything else. But I avoided shrines. I avoided talking to people. I avoided any of the fetch quests, any of that stuff. I actually went to the Zora's domain last. Eddie, you're in shock. Why are you in shock? It's
impossible. How can you climb some of those towers without getting some shrines in and leveling up your wheels? It's your stamina wheel, man.
A lot of the food helped out a lot. There's stamina recovering food that I did exploit as much as I could.
What about where it got really cold?
And where I got cold, hot foods.
Yeah, so this guy relied on all the food.
If you have a little tip, if you have a flame weapon, it keeps you warm.
And if you have an ice weapon in the desert, it keeps you cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Just in the inventory?
Yeah,
or you have to have it on your body.
Equipped.
On your body, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So a little, yeah, that helped it a lot. Yeah, I figured out a lot of these little things to get me going because I wasn't so much interested in the shrines until after I'd gotten all that done, because I wanted to be able to see the map in its entirety and know exactly where I was at all times. That was the very first thing that I did. So going back to you, Nick, the Azor domain was actually one of the last places I went to.
Yeah, that was just the best area in it. Like, the Gerudo village was nice, and the sand with the giant my brain isn't working today. Sorry. The giant beasts in the sand that you could shoot the bomb arrows at.
Yes, so that's actually the first great divine beast that I went after,
Okay.
which is the camel divine beast. And that was I think that is actually the toughest one out of all four.
Are you talking about the
camel divine
lightning
beast? Yeah,
lightning bolt, lightning bane
oh,
Ganon or whatever?
Blight, the lightning blight.
Blight,
Ganon?
yeah, lightning blight Ganon.
Not just the fight. Well, the fight was very difficult, but I thought the whole inside challenge of the divine beast was really really tough too. But that was a tough fight as well.
See, I guess that one was a little easier for me because I had done the elephant, which has that same similar mechanic, but without the spinning rotation. So when I went in there, I already knew what to do, and I already knew how to traverse a divine beast to where you're gonna have to alter this beast for it to work for you.
Yeah. See, I didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
I did not bother with Terrytown. I knew about the house that you could purchase, and I saw.
Did you buy your house at least?
No,
you didn't buy your house, and
I
you
never
didn't help
bothered
Terrytown?
with money. I never. The only time I ever worried about money was getting the Great Fairies. That was it. I never bothered with money. I never bothered with fetch quests. I did get all the memories immediately after I got all the maps and everything. That was my next goal, was to get the memories, and that helped out a lot because you get little hints to where the memories are at, and having the map and actually looking in and zooming in those areas really helped me get those. Again, mentioning, as I mentioned before, the memories have you gotten majority of the memories, right, Eddie?
I've got most of them. There's
Okay.
some that are just I just have no idea where they're at.
This isn't a spoiler, but they're memories of Zelda, and of course, like as I mentioned before, anything that's involving Zelda, I absolutely love, and that was the greatest. That's why I love these series so much, because I love Zelda so much. And then, so eventually after that, then I did work on getting my stamina up. I did increase my stamina first before I got the hearts.
See, I went opposite. I did hearts first.
Nah,
I did a mix, but I finished hearts before stamina.
I got to the point where my stamina was maxed out, and then I got to the Lost Woods, and at that point I didn't have enough to get the great sword,
the master sword.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my goal through. The first thing first was to get the map filled out, and I've started the master quest, and I'm trying to do that again.
Well, it's a little easier in the Master Quest because I've been playing Master Quest since the DLC came out, and you do a lot of running away in Master Quest.
Yeah.
It's like Monty Python. Run away.
Okay. So,
can I just make one more thing before we move on from
Sure.
Breath of the Wild?
yes.
What I love about Breath of the Wild was it was the best single-player MMO game I've ever played in my life. In the fact that when that game came out and everyone was playing it, you would all play it, and then you would come together and talk to people about it. And everyone had a different experience because the game wasn't linear.
Yeah.
So, did you see this? No, I saw this. Oh, did you experience this? Yeah, I did it this way. And it was just it was this multiplayer idea of story sharing and adventure sharing while playing a single player game. And that's how I always felt, because you had these deep, long conversations about it and just about things you would do. And it was just such a cool experience as a whole to talk to people about it, because it was such an amazing game that changed a lot of stuff for the series.
Now, I think this is a great point. Moving on to our next topic, is this a winning formula, or is this nostalgia that makes us love this game so much?
The characters, for me, are nostalgia.
Yeah.
Now, okay,
Yeah.
so I see that you're going on maybe the nostalgia side. Eddie, I see that you're kind of wavering.
I feel like it's a mix.
It
It's
is.
a
It
mix
is.
of
It's a
both,
perfect mix.
actually,
Yeah, because it's the nostalgia brings me to the game when it says The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
My nostalgia factor of loving the series and the characters and seeing where they're going to go next brings me into it. But the gameplay itself is such a good winning formula for the series, because it took everything you thought you knew about the series and it said, yeah, we're not going to do that.
Well, let me pose this question now. Would you say that this is just an upgraded version of The Legend of Zelda, the first title?
Yes, I could say that to a degree. Yeah, I feel that way too. Someone who was
Eddie,
I wouldn't know because I didn't play the.
Yeah.
Oh, then okay,
original
that's a
Legend of
very
Zelda.
interesting perspective then.
Yeah.
Because then in the first Zelda, you're pretty much you start off on the screen. You go wherever you want, and you can start off at the last dungeon. You can go to the first dungeon.
Well, second to last.
You
can
can't
get
go to the
into
last
8.
one.
You can't get into 9 until
Right.
you have all. I mean, you can enter the door, but you can't.
you can't get
through it until you
Oh,
have the
interesting.
But
Triforce.
it's completely open world. Before the whole concept of open world gaming was really there.
Mhm.
But does it have the same thing like the cooking and like
No.
your weapons
No,
getting
no.
destroyed?
No,
No.
There's 3 weapons in the game.
Oh,
They're
okay.
based. They're based just like in Breath of the Wild. You can't get the Master Sword till you have a certain amount of hearts.
Uh-huh.
That comes from the original Zelda.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, yeah,
So
you can
this-
go anywhere from corner to map,
So then it's
minus a couple areas. for
It's
you
a
to
very
get items.
interesting
Yeah.
point then, because you would say you do agree that it's nostalgia.
Yes.
Whereas for you, Eddie, you've never played the Legend of Zelda, so it isn't nostalgia for you. But then so you would
Well,
say
as far
this
as
is
the characters, it is right. It's just that memory of coming back to Link, Zelda, Ganon, right?
yeah.
And then all the what are the different,
enemies?
Like, not the enemies, the
Oh, like the Zoras and the
Zoras,
Gorons.
the Gorons, right? All that.
well, that's not in the.
That's
not
in the
the
Ocarina of
in
Time.
Ocarina.
In the Ocarina
Oh,
of
yeah,
Time,
yeah, yeah.
I met them, except for like the bird people. I forget what they're
Oh, the
called.
Rivalis aren't in that
Yeah,
one.
they're
Yeah.
new.
Rudo, I thought, or is that the Wind Waker?
Rudo's Wind Waker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
the Rudos
Yeah,
are from
is that
Wind
what they got
Waker.
introduced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but even the Gerudos, like
Uh-huh.
they're
Yeah.
from Ocarina of
Ocarina
Time,
of Time.
so
Yeah.
I have that like, oh, okay, cool. I get to see these characters again.
Oh,
you know?
that's an interesting step then, because then you have the Ocarina of Time experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it nostalgia for that title?
It is for
Wow,
me. For
that's
me,
so
just
cool.
going back to see these, characters again, and how they have it in like different locations, and
Yeah.
it's like the land of the Gerudos, the land of Zora.
Yeah.
So I found that again in Breath of the Wild. It's like, okay, if I go here, I get to meet the Zoras. If I go over here, the Gerudos. So that's what the nostalgia was for
Oh,
me.
and
That
the,
is
the
so
other
cool.
the other pure nostalgia thing about that game is just looking at the map and looking at what things are named. And there's so
Oh,
many
yeah.
names of things that are references to other Zelda games.
Yeah.
Even the CDI ones. Those are
Really?
canon. Yeah, I can't remember what it is.
I know
but
the canon.
yeah, but if you this game kind of made them canon because before they were kind of just offshoots. They're not represented in any timeline.
Yeah.
But now in this game, things are named after stuff. And I'll look it up. I can't remember what it is,
Oh,
but
that's
I remember
interesting.
when that first happened a couple years ago when the game came out, and I was like, "Oh, what? This is cool."
Yeah. Okay. That's really cool. So then again, let me ask this question: do you think it's nostalgia or a winning formula?
It's both.
It's both.
It's both. I agree.
It's both.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
At
of
first,
both.
I was kind of like, "Oh, weapons that have durability. This is going to be weird for a Zelda game because I'm so used to getting one thing and going through and relying so heavily on the sub weapons you got from dungeons. Not saying I missed that. I really missed that, but it works perfect in Breath of the Wild. I don't need a hook shot in Breath of the Wild anymore.
There wasn't any hook shot.
No, there's not. I'm
No.
just saying it doesn't need to be in there. That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't need those dungeon traversing items because they've given you the freedom to climb and to jump and stuff like that.
Well,
so yeah.
the items were just dependent upon the challenges within the dungeons and the overworld and
Yeah.
everything like that. Now, given with that said, now would you say that this Zelda 2 title might just be more of the same?
Breath of the Wild 2?
Breath of the Wild 2, yeah.
There's a part of me that really hopes it gets back to some form of dungeons with enemies in them to clear rooms, because I like the Divine Beast, but I miss a dungeon. Who doesn't love a dungeon? That's the part of the
I
formula.
agree.
Eddie, you
I
agree?
agree.
Yeah.
I actually noticed that usually just the Divine Beast is where the big dungeons are at.
Yeah,
Everything
the
else is
shrines
just
were mini- they were
shrines or
mini
just mini
dungeons.
dungeons.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't really like unlock in a way where you're solving these puzzles to unlock areas of the dungeon.
Yeah.
Wow.
That only happens with the Divine Beast.
Yeah. Did you get the Champions Ballad DLC?
I believe I did purchase all the
Okay.
DLC.
You
I
haven't
just
gone
haven't,
through it
haven't
yet?
gone through it
Yeah,
yet.
but
Admittedly, I haven't either.
Okay, let me just tell you that the shrines in those are, because I did feel with 120 shrines, there were some shrines that you went into and you knew what was going to happen. You knew how to get through it, or it was going to be a major strength, a test of strength, or minor, or
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And you just kind of were aware of, oh, this is how I get through the dungeon. This is probably what I'm going to have to use. I'm going to have to use stasis here. I'm going to have to use, my bombs here. And you would just go through the dungeons. And yeah, they were a little tricky. The ones for the Champions Ballad were completely rethought to where you were using multiple of your abilities your bombs, your stasis, or the freezing one, just to get through one shrine, and they were just much bigger and more elaborate, and which gave me hope that maybe we're gonna get dungeons or something like that too.
Okay.
And boy, am I excited for Breath of the Wild 2.
Okay,
Oh boy, am I
so
excited.
Let's move on to our last topic
Yeah.
then, which we did briefly hint on. So let's talk about our thoughts about the upcoming releases. So since we're talking about Breath of the Wild 2, let's go ahead and continue with that.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen the trailer. Eddie, you haven't seen the trailer yet?
I have not actually. I
Okay.
have not seen anything.
You're in
Breath
for a
of the Wild
treat.
2. Okay.
Yes.
Because it doesn't really give much away, but it's enough to get you very, very excited. At least I feel. Like, as soon as I saw it, I was immediately excited about what's coming up next. In fact, it did spark the want to play that game again, which I thought was very, very clever on their part, because it's not coming out till, well, actually, we don't know when.
Well, if it's on the same engine, I'm hoping for next year. If
Hopefully.
they're doing the Majora's Mask thing where they're piggybacking, because they already have the engine built, and the story behind it, when they were talking to the producer, sorry to go a little off topic here, when they were talking to the producer at E3, was a lot of this was they wanted this for DLC for Breath of the Wild, but it just became too much to where they decided, let's make a second game.
Nice.
So I'm hoping that because of that, and they were already planning on leveraging it, that it's been in works for a while, and we'll get it sometime, maybe a holiday next year would be perfect.
That seems so far away off from now.
Yeah, but just think when you first got Ocarina of Time and put it in, if I would have told you in 1 year from now you'll be playing a sequel to this game, you would have told me I was crazy. And we got Majora's Mask out of nowhere. So it can happen. It is possible. What was it? 2 years between? Let's see here, it was a little over a year between Zelda and Legend of Zelda and Legend of Zelda 2: Link's Adventure. So it's been done before. It can be done. I mean, Nintendo's sitting on a mountain of Wii money still. They can throw all the money in the world at it.
Yeah. Okay, then in that case, since would you rather finish the game first before you watch this trailer, Eddie?
I'm okay with watching the trailer. I don't mind.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Does
really,
it spoil?
No, it
the
doesn't spoil.
ending
I don't
to the
know.
game?
I guess it kind of does.
Well, once you see the trailer and then you see the ending after all the memories, you're kind of like, oh, I guess I expected this. But if you didn't expect it by this point,
no.
yeah, we'll take that. We'll talk about that later.
Okay,
we'll talk about that later. But
In
I
that
just want to
case-
say I'm surprised that you didn't bring up the biggest part of the trailer for you.
Which was what?
Which is
Zelda's
what?
haircut.
It's it's not a
Zelda's
haircut. She
haircut?
has her hair up.
It looks like a haircut. It looks like a shoulder length like bob.
No, it's braided and it's put up.
It's a bob. She
No.
got a cut.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Since you're bringing that up,
Yeah.
yes, that is the. As soon as I saw that, I was immediately excited because I thought maybe this is hinting at the fact that you can play as Zelda in this next title, and I want that. I seriously want that. She should be the main star.
The game's named after her.
It is named after her, but you never get to play her as actual protagonist.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing that I'm seeing from this one. The way that she's portrayed in this trailer, I think that she will in fact be a playable character.
I hope she's not a tag-along character like the girl from Resident Evil 4,
Okay.
who was kind of fun at times but kind of got in the way at times.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I never played Resident Evil 4.
Oh, you should play Resident Evil
Did you
4.
play?
No,
No,
me
Eddie?
neither.
No.
Okay.
I thought you were going to mention Bioshock Infinite. Where
Oh.
the
Yeah, but she was actually...
Claire? What was her
I
name?
can't remember her name,
Yeah, I
but
can't recall right now.
she was actually helpful. She actually helped push the
Yeah.
story along, as where the other girl was kind of just like there and you had to help out, but...
No, yeah, she was
Yeah.
crucial for the plot. But yeah,
Yeah.
well, we digress.
Yeah.
Okay, so then any
And
thoughts?
Ganondorf. I know
Okay,
you don't think it's
no.
Ganondorf. I think it's Ganondorf because of the Gerudo earring on him. He's wearing a Gerudo earring, and
No.
I think it's Ganondorf. I think it's the male Gerudo reincarnate.
I don't think so. I think from what I saw from the what was on the forehead and the hair,
Yeah.
I think it's Aghanim from the Link to the Past series.
Yeah.
So I think that he is a part of this and was kind of put in that situation because he released Calamity Ganon. And they're venturing down to see what's going on.
That's interesting. I would hope that the Aghanim with the hand would be him.
Yes.
More
yeah,
so, but him raising Ganon, actual Ganondorf back up. Because it all happens in the same area. You fought Ganondorf in that same castle, in theory. In timeline theory, in Weird Wacky Zelda timeline theory, you have faced him in that castle. He has died in that castle multiple times. for his body to be buried under there, under the ruins of many castles past, would be a really cool story for me. And then you get basically Ocarina of Time Ganon back.
Well, what did you get then by the hint of all the dust coming up around the castle? Did you get a hint? Okay, let me ask you this: do you think the castle is going up or it's going down?
I think it's going down, and that's why they're underground. I think it's sunk.
I think it's going up.
No, we just played Turtles, and that's why you think that.
What happened with Turtles?
Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project, where Shredder takes Manhattan and raises it into the sky.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting stuff to see. Eddie, I'm super excited for you to see it. Hopefully you'll finish the game first and then watch it, so you don't get any spoilers. So let's talk about Link's Awakening, because I know that this is coming out this year, right?
This is coming out September 20th.
September, okay, it's coming out soon.
It cannot come out fast enough.
Yeah, okay.
It cannot be in my hands right now. Yes.
So obviously, Nick, you're very, very excited for this title.
Yes.
Me, not so much, because I'm not excited for a remake. I have played the original.
Yeah.
I played it all the way through. I completed it. I thought it was a great game. I love the rock feather where you get the jump thing.
Yes.
Eddie, did you play? No, you didn't. You didn't play Link's Awakening. That's right.
Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening, yeah, which is a old Game Boy.
And then Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
So I will say things I haven't played. I've never played Link's Awakening DX with the extra color dungeon. There's an extra dungeon in Link's Awakening DX, which will be in this one. So I'll finally get to play that because I only ever had the original Link's Awakening. I remember getting that on release day, going to Toys R Us and looking at the back. You remember those cards you would flip up?
Yeah.
Yes. Only 2 Game Boy games I remember getting on release, and it was that and Kirby for the Game Boy.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, I am super excited. This game has such a nice place in my heart. It was my portable Zelda game of my childhood. I have played it at E3, and wow, it plays so well and so fun, and I'm really excited to see the dungeon creator. I want more information on that, because all they showed, they call it the heart dungeon. So I'm wondering, can you only place things within that heart shape? Or are there going to be different shapes you can unlock? Or can you make your own shapes? And will this lead into what I've always wanted since they said, hey, we're going to let you make Mario levels? I was like, I want to make Zelda dungeons. Because you could do top-down Zelda Dungeon Maker. There's enough games to draw inspiration from, to have enough styles already.
That would be cool.
Oh my god,
that would be really cool. Now, I would be excited for that. As I mentioned, I'm not really excited for Link's Awakening. I probably am going to skip it.
Mine is going to be pre-ordered, and my amiibo's going to be pre-ordered.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're doing an amiibo of the little toy shiny Link, and it looks awesome. And yeah,
that'd be if they had a giant windfish amiibo, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, just like
just huge, huge
like
amiibo.
4 foot by 3 foot big thing. You would have
if they can do a giant cloud figure, let's do a giant.
You've never seen the giant
windfish.
Yarn Yoshi amiibo?
No.
They have like a 2 foot tall Yarn Yoshi amiibo that was this limited edition.
That's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yes, could not be more excited for that, and especially because they didn't take things out like Goombas and Chain Chomps. Or I'm wondering, because I should have gone into it. I should have gone into the house, I think, where the mayor from SimCity is.
Mayor from SimCity, what?
Oh, so you don't know about that? So there's all these cameos in that game, and in one of the houses in the village, there's an old guy with like hair that kind of sticks off to the side. That's actually, I can't remember his dang name for the life of me right now, but that's the mayor from the Super Nintendo SimCity game.
I never played
that game.
Okay. Did you play that?
I've never played
I never played that.
This was and Link's Awakening was the first Zelda game that Miyamoto wasn't part of. This was a side shoot that some of the guys were doing on Game Boy, and he said, yeah, go have fun with it. That's why it has its little quirks and its differences, like jumping and side-scrolling levels in it, and Chain Chomps and Goombas.
There's Goombas in that game?
Yeah.
I know the Chain Chomp. It's called something. It's called like
Chomp Chomp or
Rocky, right?
Is it Rocky or is it Chomp? He just says Chomp Chomp every time, but there's a Chain Chomp in there. When you're going through the dungeons and you go to like the Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda, like, oh, there's an item hidden in this dungeon, or part 1 to take you to part 2 of the dungeon.
Yeah.
In there, there's jumping ones, and some of them there's Goombas on there, and if you use the Rock's Feather, you can jump on them just like Mario does.
Oh, nice.
Just little things like that I'm really excited for.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you're excited for it.
Yeah.
If this all works out, I will get a Zelda game this year and a Zelda game next year. Oh my god.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Eddie, thank you very much. Nick, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Any last comments? No, good.
I love Legend of Zelda.
Legend of Zelda, yeah.
Yes,
Eddie, I look forward
everything.
to finishing that game and checking out the trailer. I'm actually super excited for you to see the trailer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be super cool. Yeah. All right, so thank you very much for listening and listening to us talk about the Legend of Zelda. If you haven't played any of these titles, we highly encourage you to play all of them. They're
Except
all
for
really
Spirit
good.
Tracks.
Except for
Phantom
Spirit
Hourglass.
Tracks.
I was gonna say even the CDI titles.
No, you can play those.
Yeah, those are still good, right?
Yeah, those are better than Spirit Tracks.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. All right, so let's wrap it up with that because I don't want to give you another chance. And so for today's closing quote, made famous by Iggy Pop, I'm worth $1 million in prizes. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.